Hello, guys. This is the My Friends and I podcast where we pretty much talk about anything we want. I'm Zibo Yeye.
And I am Malou Borks, and thinking about how Cruella should have been Dummy Thick in the movie.
Okay, this is a good start. um, today we are talking about Cruella, a movie that arguably should have came out like what was it, a year ago? I forgot it got
Yeah,
delayed
should have
completely.
actually around the same time too. It was supposed to come out in May, but then the pandemic happened, and then Disney was like, "Okay, movie theaters are shutting down.
Oh
Delay
yeah,
everything."
we have to charge $30 for this now.
Yep, and it's like, guys, okay, I don't think this movie is worth. I don't even think, even if I like some of the, even if I liked, I haven't seen Raya, but like even if I saw that and liked it, I still would say 30 is too much.
Yeah, especially compared to the average going price of going to a theater.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed in saying we didn't pay for it. Well, technically one of us pirated it, not us, but group pirated it and streamed it, and I'm not really ashamed of saying that.
Yeah. it's too much.
Why
even
did we
for
open? Wait, why did we open this off for admitting to a crime?
Good question, and the answer is quite simple.
Oh.
You see.
Okay. We should get down to the story, I guess. Do you want to read off the synopsis?
Oh, I can read it off if you want. The story of Cruella follows Cruella. Although born as a girl named Estella, after the death of her mother, Cruella grows up alongside lifelong friends Horace and Jasper. As a group, they're thieves. However, things turn around for Cruella as she finds an opportunity to jettison her fashion career. The one person standing in her way is her boss, the Baroness, who bears a connection to Cruella's mother. It is up to Cruella to become the fashionista she dreamed of, as well as avenge her mother.
So yeah, I guess, and writing down the plot, it made me realize something that I kind of like about the film. Although, I will get ahead of myself. Oh, I guess we should say that this will contain spoilers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, major spoilers, even though like the one we'll be talking about, pretty much everyone on the internet knows and is making fun of for like...
definitely gonna have to talk about that one.
Yeah. Because like people are making fun of it for the right, but also the wrong reasons, but we'll
get to that. So one of the things that writing the synopsis of the script I realized is there is quite a bit that happens in the plot, and that is something that I do like about the film, is that the plot kind of develops.
Yeah, and I think the pacing, okay, it could have been trimmed down, but I do think the pacing is like good for the most part, I want to say.
The biggest thing about pacing is I don't feel like it was paced as bad as much as by the end of it I felt like this was...
Like certain scenes didn't need to be there.
I don't know what could have been cut out. Maybe it could have been the second montage of Cruella. But I did, by the end of it, I did feel like the overall plot did not warrant 2 hours. Let alone over 2 hours.
Not 2 hours and 18 minutes.
I think it could have easily been cut down to 145 hours. A lot of it is...
Hold on, wait. 145 hours.
Oh, whoops. 145 minutes.
Yeah.
No, wait, not 145 minutes. Blah, blah, blah. I'm screwing up.
Yeah.
An hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. I think something like that could work, because like a shorter runtime could help the movie's pacing be eased better.
I guess we'll get to the big scene everyone's talking about first, since it did happen. I got spoiled on it, but I guess I'm glad
everyone... I don't know if like one of the other people we watched it with got spoiled on it, but I know I did. I think everyone in the call did.
Yeah, and it's kind of thankful that it at least happens 9 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
The scene we're talking about, if you aren't aware, is the scene where, at the opening of the movie, where Dalmatians seem to be chasing Cruella, and then they end up ramming her mom off a cliff.
Yep, they just yeeted her off. Very badly with CG.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't get. Like, why can they not is it really just that hard to get an animal trainer to get a Dalmatian to run up to a camera? I mean, why did it have to be CG?
I really don't know, honestly.
A lot of the presentation of that, including the CG and like how her mom does this sort of like over spectacled flip, give the scene a real comical factor that it shouldn't be there because I know it's meant to be a sad scene.
It is, but like, oh my god, it's so dumb. It's badly executed.
It is really funny. You know, we couldn't stop laughing. And even despite that, even despite me finding it funny and us finding it funny and practically everyone laughing at it,
Yeah.
I won't deny that that itself is primarily in response to the presentation. A lot of people are
Yeah.
trying to misconstrue this scene and impart it on an
Way
aspect of the plot, which I feel it bears nothing towards. Actually, I won't say I
way
feel.
too many
I know
way too
it
many
bears nothing
people,
on the plot
like,
in terms of
way-
like what people are trying to say it bears to the plot.
yeah, I think way too many people assume this is like why she's evil, but like
Yeah, a lot
throughout
of people.
the film,
The
she's,
claim is that people are saying that this scene, the Dalmatians killing her mom, is why she hates Dalmatians, and goes on to what she does, you know, as Cruella.
yeah,
However,
but like the film does like it actually like goes against that argument because like she's actually very friendly towards the Dalmatians
yeah,
outside of like
she in fact one of
I-
the first lines she said is that she says she killed her mom, so she doesn't even blame the dog; she blames herself.
yeah.
And even when one of the twists is that Cruella's boss, the Baroness, ended up killing her mom. You know, she blew a dog whistle, and even then she puts the blame on her mom, on the Baroness.
I want to say the only time she might have shown any kind of ill will towards the Dalmatians is just like her threatening the Baroness and like also saying she'll kill her dogs, which like doesn't even happen though.
Did she say she'll kill her dogs?
I think she did. I remember seeing that. I remember hearing and seeing that in the subtitles. I could always.
I don't know.
somehow check it
I
again
mean, I
later.
only remember the Baroness saying she killed my dogs and turned them into coats, which was which wasn't
It
even
was
what
very
happened.
weird.
That wasn't what happened. But yeah, so no matter what, Cruella doesn't hate the Dalmatians, and she blames herself then to the actual killer, and never imparts blame to the Dalmatians themselves. And part of the plot gets Cruella where she has to kidnap those exact same Dalmatians because they swallowed her mother's pendant halfway through the movie. And even then, I thought this was going to be a point where Cruella planned to kill them in order to get the pendant. However, that was even too mean for Cruella and the plot. Surprisingly,
It's very weird.
yeah,
It's
surprisingly, she just
PG-13,
decided
but,
to
like,
she just decided to take care of the pups until they poop it out. Like part of her plan honestly relies on her cleaning up dog poop. So really, there's not really ill will to to Dalmatians dogs, let alone even the specific Dalmatians when she has them. So
Yeah.
to point to this scene,
which is like
so the
weird.
point to so the point to this scene as to why she hates Dalmatians is folly when the movie displays nothing to that point.
Yeah, I know. Like some people also say she doesn't like animals, and that's also like I think that's true on like the well, no, like she didn't like animals in like the original film, and I think that's true because all she cared about was like the fur and all that, her fur coats.
I don't think that pertains too much to this film because one of the
Well, yeah, no.
ironies of this quote unquote origin story is that Cruella had a dog as like one of her best friends. Disney's first openly gay dog.
Oh my god.
I think should we talk
I
about
mean,
that
yeah.
article? I'll just say that
The
before-
articles.
You can just say what
Oh, what?
happened.
The article is like very stupid, and I want to say it's actually misleading in a way.
Well, I
'cause,
didn't read it. We neither of us read it.
Well,
but
yeah, no, it was just the headlines, but I figured what it might say. But I just think it's weird because, like, never once does the character in question actually, like, openly say, I'm gay, unlike the Onward cop.
The article said announced Disney's first openly gay character, even though you may have thought it was an Onward or probably
Or
some
like
other movie.
whatever.
Yeah, but the character's name is Artie.
At the very least, with Artie, he has a bit more of a personality than the Onward cop, and plays a bigger part than
Well, yeah,
her.
but I don't really put that on the blame on the Onward cop.
Well, yeah,
It's
no,
just
I
that
don't.
the media put so much emphasis on a character who didn't matter
Yeah,
for Onward.
but it's very weird how like they say that, but this character doesn't actually have that outside of like being stereotypically feminine in a
Yeah,
way.
like at least the Onward cop was undeniably like, at least not homosexual in that she, or not heterosexual in that she had a girlfriend.
Yeah, she says it, and I know that. Oh,
This, and even though that was one line, at least it validated the existence of the claim. Nothing in this movie validates the existence of that article claiming that Artie, the character in question, is gay. And throughout it, I was like, please do anything. I don't care what you have to do. Hug a man, kiss a man, fuck a man. Do anything.
oh my
Do
god.
anything to validate this article and not make it a lie.
It is like such a weird thing, but I'm actually kind of glad that we didn't have just a weird scene that would be cut out
Yeah, and I don't
in
know.
like different places.
I don't know if Disney specifically sent this news to media outlets for this to be a headline out there, or if it's something the Polygon, I think was the Twitter, I'm not sure, came
I'm
up
not
with
sure- I can't
themselves.
remember what the article
but-
was. I could probably find it
But
somewhere.
either way, I do find the claim that this is an openly gay character, despite him never ever indicating such, kind of bad when all we have is that he's effeminate, which kind of reinforces a stereotype. So the only basis for this article is a stereotype, which I don't think I need to say why reinforcing overblown stereotypes is a bad thing.
Yeah, I get that. I guess it's weird because I don't know if I see it as like super reinforcing. I guess like in a way I didn't see him as like a harmful character. I think if anything he's just more of like part of me feels he's played more feminine and like cuz he's into fashion and not so much that he's
Oh
gay.
yeah, he's not a harmful character innately in the plot because I wouldn't really say anything within the plot indicates he's gay. If anything, my statement only has beef to Disney's connection to media outlets when they send out this information, or how media outlets target on this information, even when in this case
Yeah.
it's false. So that's not really a reflection of Cruella as much as either Disney's media management or media outlets who latch on to this stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I feel we should have probably looked at the article before, but like I'm sure like it would probably just say like something in regards to him being gay or whatever.
Yeah, now that we got something that is pretty irrelevant of the movie out of the way or unconnected, I guess we could go on to some likes or dislikes.
For me, it's weird, but I kind of liked the film's tone. I think something about the film's tone just like I guess like it had a bit more fun with itself as opposed to like other like Disney films that don't really do much. And all this this one is like still like super
Yeah.
generic, but at least it's not redoing the same
I
thing.
hear the Disney remakes can be kind of overly gritty, but I don't know if that's true.
I've seen
They
Oh my
range
God,
from
which ones I've
overly gritty
seen?
to uncreative, which I hear the Lion King is just plagiarism, but I can't really say.
I've seen 3. I've seen the Aladdin remake, the Lion King one, and the Lady and the Tramp one. And out of all of them, including this one, I guess if you want to put it in there, which I wouldn't consider.
I
but,
wouldn't either, but
But I guess out of all of them, I still think Lady and the Tramp was like my favorite still.
what about the tone of Cruella?
The tone of Cruella is like fits because I don't think the film was taking itself too seriously, even though in other scenes it did take itself a bit serious for like certain moments. But I think it was like a bit more fun with itself than needed, like her coming out of the garbage truck.
Yeah, in
Which
a way,
was certainly not what I expected.
it's very ironic how one of the darkest Disney villains is given such a light
It's lighter than I thought it would be, honestly.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of glad at that.
And in a way, I kind of almost have an issue with the tone, especially considering it's part of how I feel the film almost forgets it's talking about one of Disney's darkest villains, and it doesn't really portray that very much. But I will admit, watching it, that sometimes it is fun, and I did the
Yeah.
one point I did like was when Cruella, who it's hard to say because we say Cruella, but there's really two. There's Estella and Cruella. Cruella becomes almost
Yeah.
like a superhero alter ego who ends up. Cruella, the alter ego, ends up getting a whole bunch of fans because she upstages the Baroness at all of her concerts and such. Well, not concerts, but fashion
Well, yeah, but
displays.
like fashion places,
Yeah,
yeah.
fashion displays.
In a weird way, even though like that is kind of weird, I still like that montage.
Yeah, I
But like
did
the
enjoy
first
the
one,
montage, and that. Oh, go on.
I don't know where to go off from there, so you can like keep going.
I did enjoy the montage and the sort of energy, and I do enjoy this sort of unique, almost grounded superhero take. It's not a superhero, but people begin to almost like idolize this Cruella, and she has a secret identity. She ends up trying to overthrow someone, and it's almost
Yeah.
like a kind of countercultural thing because the Baroness really controls the fashion of London a lot. So in this segment, I kind of like it because it feels creative in that it's almost like it's being a superhero movie, but with no superheroes. It has many of the appeals,
Yeah.
such as trying to overthrow someone, the almost swashbuckling grandeur of the display, the alter ego, the mysterious identity. I do think that that was a unique take on this character.
It is like it is like an interesting take cuz like uh one of the people were worried about having the film like having us sympathize with her, and like I'm trying to remember if like I don't know if the film did try to do that, because I know like some of her actions are probably not that good.
It's very hard to say that it was trying to build us to empathize with Cruella, which I will say that's another point I take to the tweets that say that that Dalmatian scene is trying to get us to sympathize with her, when
Oh yeah,
really
no, that's like really weird.
sympathy is an emotion you relate to as if you experienced it firsthand. Empathy is one in which you impart yourself to theorize how it feels like. So it's empathy and not sympathy.
Yeah.
At that point, I may be pushing my limit of pedantry, but
No,
take
it's
that for
okay.
what you will. That is beef I have with a lot of the claims people are throwing with this scene, but
Honestly, same. The amount of claims. There's one that I feel is true that should be heavily criticized because they fucked that up greatly. But we'll get to that when we feel it's ready.
let's see, what else do I have on my likes? Oh, this other thing is kind of a spoiler. I guess since we talked about the montage, what's montage without music? And in many montages, licensed music is a staple, but this theme pervades beyond the montage. And I'm not fond of the trend of over relying on licensed music in movies. I was not a fan of it in Kong Skull Island, and neither was I in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. For me, I feel like it's kind of a way to like not pay the composer and just for me, I always see it as a crutch for the director or studio or whoever to be like, well, if we put in music the audience likes, it may distract the audience from whatever may be bad in the movie. So I feel like it's a crutch.
Yeah, I can understand that. I didn't mind some of the songs because I think they would work, but I feel the movie does rely too much on all the licensed songs. I think it would have been better having its own sort of musical score, and I thought like that it would have gotten worse with like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but no, it really kind of like
This is the most
whoever.
egregious musical direction that I've seen the let's pump in licensed tracks into the
Yeah.
movie. This is the most egregious example of a movie doing that I can think of.
Honestly, yeah, it's weird. I don't know if like this is on the director or the studio, because like I don't know, just something about it just doesn't feel right with like what they were doing. Because I think the tone would have worked better for certain scenes if they just had their own original musical score.
Yeah. This film, I don't know if I would really claim it's on the studio because I know if so, then I feel like Disney would have did the same with something like maybe Lady and the Tramp or such, the live action remake. They did not, so it makes me think maybe it was a specific idea of a producer or director or something. But that's just speculation.
Yeah, we wouldn't really know, and I don't know if anyone would like come out to say it.
All I can say on it is that I don't like it. I feel the technique is a crutch. And although I don't like the technique, I will say it was done a bit better in this movie in terms of that. One of my issues with this trend is that it feels like scenes are made with just an editor's note with put whatever music here. Maybe it will have a suggestion, but they'll be open to
Yeah.
like whatever license they can get. So because of it, the scenes end up with a lack of cohesion to that music specifically. I will say not every scene in this movie had that, and at least there's points where the music represents what's going on screen, like timing and rhythmically to the motion
Yeah.
of the characters
Which
or
like
cameras. And because of that, it adds a bit more cohesion between the soundtrack and the cinematography going
it
on
does,
and
'cause
editing.
like
So
yeah.
I don't think that I don't think it's as bad in this movie, but definitely the overabundance of me of the overabundance of licensed track wore on me to where I find this one of the worst examples of the trend.
Yeah, hopefully, like, I mean, like, it's not like as bad as this. It's only used once, but hopefully, if I ever show you Shaun of the Dead, you'll appreciate the scene where they use a licensed song because it's not just a scene that like plays for comedy, but also like it actually goes along with the visuals and everything. But that's a different movie for like another time, I guess. Well, not for this podcast.
Yeah, so I guess I got one dislike out of the way too. Most of what I have are dislikes. I don't know where should we go after that?
Although I didn't mind some of it too much, I do feel the weird origin stuff is a bit of a weird issue.
Are you talking about how it doesn't match up with the original?
Well, like kind of that, but I guess also like I guess for like some stuff I didn't mind like yeah, it doesn't yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't go with like how the original film was, but I guess I didn't mind Cruella kind of like being friends with Horace and Jasper at a young age.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if we should go on to the discrepancies. Let me see. That's my big issue. So maybe we should say that to the end. Let's see. Oh yeah, I guess in terms of origin story, this did have really some of the worst tropes I can think of where there's this overcomplicated Cruella isn't just her birth name, it's this alter ego she took on, but I can sort of I can accept that for the story they want to tell, especially since it's
Yeah.
the alter ego plot point is necessary for this. So I'm not too I don't have beef with that. I definitely have beef with her last name because one of my issues with origin stories or prequels is the need to connect everything to the first movie, and it just feels so disingenuous because not everything has an or has some explanation like that, like Cruella, Horace, and Jasper meeting as kids. Like not everyone met who they knew in the future as kids. It feels like kind of a Camp Coral explanation where it's just everyone they all knew each other as kids. Nothing changed, and it's I don't like that explanation, especially considering I think it feels not only unrealistic but also kind of hampers us from getting new content at times.
I guess I can understand that.
One of the issues I have with prequels is arbitrary explanations of things that did not need to be explained. And this has one of the worst ones I've seen. And I saw it coming and I groaned preemptively when I saw it. When, I don't know, who's the fat one? Is it Horace?
It was Horace, I believe. I could be wrong.
Horace comes across Disney's like first openly gay car and
Oh my
is
god.
like he's like, "Oh, do you know what the name of this car is?" And I saw it coming. He's like, "Oh, it's called a devil." And Cruel's like, "Huh, Deville. Yeah, I like that." And it's really stupid. We didn't need to know why she picked the name Deville. Yeah, like I just bought that was her birth name, and it's such an arbitrary explanation to make you go, "Oh, that's why." But it didn't need to be. It wasn't that charming of a moment, and it wasn't clever. It was contrived and cliche, and I just hated it. What made it even worse is at the end when Horace once again emphasizes it to the Baroness, saying, "It's spelled devil, but pronounced Deville." And I was just like, shut
That
up.
line is kind of stupid. I guess like that one is like a little bit weird, but I guess I didn't take too much issue with. I guess, and I guess I didn't also mind her meeting Horace and Jasper as like kids.
I guess my issue, since we're going to talk about Horace and Jasper meeting Cruella as kids, I guess we should go into this in regards to this movie as a prequel origin story. And I
Well,
think maybe
yeah.
we should start off under the assumption that I think everyone, including myself and you, went into this thinking, well, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of people went into this anticipating a prequel, which leads
Yeah.
to many issues in the movie, and I have a whole list of
And
them.
it makes me kind of wonder if this was supposed to be its own continuity or not, kind of like the other film, kind of like Maleficent, which I hear this is getting compared to a lot, even though I haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't seen Maleficent either.
But let's get back onto the topic at hand, or at paw, or whatever it's supposed to be. Is it
uh,
a feat?
no. So like, but I went into it thinking it was a prequel. I mean, it's Cruella before 101 Dalmatians. How else can that be interpreted outside of a prequel? And going into it, there are a lot of issues we get about it being under that assumption. And the first one is a bit. Well, I'll go with one of the first ones we come across, which is Cruella meeting Horace and Jasper as childhood friends. And they're literally thick as thieves. I mean, they grow up to be a band of thieves. And so, but that contradicts the first movie where she treats them like utter crap. It's clear that Horace and Jasper were just hired hands off the street who probably were bribed by like Cruella offering a McDonald's coupon or something. Like, they're just hired hands in the first movie. That relationship is very obvious. It's
Yeah.
not portrayed like they were childhood friends here. And in a way, the movie actually goes about fixing that because upon Estella donning the Cruella alter ego, she begins treating them like crap. In fact, that's actually an issue we have with the movie, that she treats them like crap with at the drop of a hat. As soon as she adopts the moniker, it's way too fast. It should have been more gradual.
Well, I can agree to that. It is like really fast.
Yeah.
But I guess for me I'm seeing it more as its own sort of continuity, even though I thought it was gonna be a prequel to one of the films.
Even if you do say it's its own continuity, there's like going into it as a prequel yields so many issues, and that's not immediately conveyed to the audience that this is a different continuity, especially as it's a prequel, as much of its appeal and grasp of the audience relies on their investment in the original movie, let alone the character. And but to go on about Horace and Jasper, her relationship at the beginning of this movie is different than it is in the original movie, which leads to a discrepancy. But they actually fix this because Cruella ends up treating them more like crap when she dons the Cruella moniker. But they go back on this and unfix it because she realizes that she was treating them wrong and apologizes for it, and they get back together by before the climax. So it starts off contradicting the original movie to fixing it to reversing that fix and contradicting it again. So they fix it just to screw it up again. And because of that, it does not mesh with the relationship Cruella has with Horace and Jasper in the original movie. That's one of the discrepancies, and why I feel this is a bad prequel, because it doesn't feel like it's cohesive with the original movie. The relationship here doesn't feel like it carries over to the original movie. And there's more examples to this that I noted down. For example, well, this one is a bit of a hard one to talk about. I kind of want to tread lightly on this one. It's kind of about Anita's altered look, which I don't have an issue. Do you want to talk about that as well?
I think when we saw it as like maybe in one of the trailers or like on the poster, I felt like something I was missing. I could have been missing something from like the advertisements. I mean, like I can get that like feels weird, but I feel if anything that made me realize maybe it's doing its. I don't know if it was doing maybe it was. Oh my gosh, words.
The thing is
I
that
guess it.
as a prequel, this, of course, I don't have an issue with a remake or whatever changing the sort of skin tone or identity of a character. It's an adaptation, so they can adapt it as they wish. However, this is not presented like a remake; it's presented as a prequel. So this only adds to the lack of meshing this film has with the original movie, making it feel less like a prequel. If this were a remake or more apparent about it being its own continuity, I would be fine with a character's altered appearance such as this.
Yeah, I can get that. Maybe I might have been missing something with like maybe like how it was advertised, or maybe I know it's like supposed to be an origin thing, but I don't know if it came out to be specifically a prequel to like either of the films. I mean, I didn't mind Anita's character though, because I thought she had a bit more to her than the original film.
I have a bit more on it as a prequel because I really want to attack this from this angle because it's such a big draw to this movie that this is Cruella's origin. But well, how can we take it as an origin when it doesn't match to what she became? And furthermore, let's go on to other. Oh yeah, also Roger looks completely different, and beyond looks, Roger's character is completely different. He starts out off as a lawyer to the Baroness, when in the original movie, he seems really free spirited. He just bums around at home writing music. Definitely does not seem like the kind of guy who would go to lawyer's school. So Roger's character doesn't mesh well with who he is in the original movie. At least with Anita, it's just on appearance alone. However, with Roger, it's both appearance and character that doesn't really mesh well with the original movie. In fact, when we first saw Roger, it took one of the members of our group to say, "Do you think that's Roger from the movie?"
Honestly, what's really funny is that the moment I did see the name Roger, it's like, okay, that's clearly Roger from the original, I guess.
It's
I
not
mean, like,
clearly. He looks so different, and he doesn't act
I
like
know,
Roger.
I know what you mean. I just thought with like the name, it's like, okay, that's probably Roger from like the original, I guess, or like who we were to assume is from like the original movie.
I get that though. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh yeah, another kind of another discrepancy is that in the first movie, all Anita says to Roger is that Cruella and her were classmates, not what the events of this movie where Cruella almost dies in a fire and ends up surviving falling off a cliff, which would seem far more interesting of a mention than, oh, we went to school together.
Yeah, that is like weird, and it makes me wonder, like, if I don't know, like, part of me wonders if it's supposed to tie into like what we knew, like what was previously established. Well, I know I keep saying that as like I guess like a different point, and I know it's supposed to be like an origin story, but I guess like, but I feel like it's more of a character origin that like doesn't have ties with like either the animated or live action film, since things seem connected but also are too different to properly mesh with either movies that released.
Yeah, and in a way, by the end of it, I do think that the film is supposed to be in its own continuity. However, however, that makes me question the point of the film. Much of its appeal rides on the viewer's knowledge of the original. That's how you grow to know Cruella. So, of course, you would think they would have some investment in the original film. And I think if you're going to tell an origin story or a prequel, it should lead into the original film smoothly, which, as I stated, the discrepancies create too many bumps in the road for this to lead you safely to the original movie. So it feels really disconnected from the original movie, in fact. And if it I feel like a movie like Joker, which I only learned the other day is not part of the DC universe, that
At least I don't think it is. I probably should have looked that up, but I'm pretty sure it isn't.
well, even if the Joker movie is its own continuity, he's the Joker. How many Batman comics are there? There's a plethora of continuities in the DC universe that it feels, and arguably the Joker I think is a more iconic character than Cruella. And beyond that, we're already really accepting of Batman having multiple continuities because there are just already a ton of continuities. I think people are I'm less accepting of it of 101 Dalmatians because there are not that. Although yes, people point out the awkward timeline. There's not that many explicit lines drawn between continuities. The only ones I can really say are it's awkward because there are like time. There's the series, but the rest of it's pretty linear. Like there's the movie, then there's the sequel, and you could argue Street takes place after that. And then there's the live action movies, and then there's the series. That's only like three different continuities. There's not nearly as much as Batman or something for me to, which helps me accept Joker more as kind of its own thing. And I haven't seen it, but I imagine Joker is probably easier to adapt into, at least in your own mind, to what happened in their origin story. But that's kind of just me speculating. This one, they tried to draw too many connections to the original movie that only served to distance it more from any continuity. That I feel like any connection the film made was undermined.
I think I can understand that, yeah. But I guess, like, for me, as the film went on, I accepted it as its own thing, if anything. And I didn't have much issue with it. Well, I mean, I still have issue with it in that regard. I think I can understand that, yeah. But I guess, like, for me, as the film went on, I accepted it as its own thing, if anything. And I didn't have much issue with it. Well, I mean, I still have issue with it in that regard. The mid credits scene, if
Do you
you're
want
talking
to?
about this,
Well, wait. Do you want
or
to talk about the ending first? Just in
uh,
general, because there's quite a
yeah,
bit with
sure,
the
why
ending.
not?
So by the end, to spoil the ending, the Baroness thinks she kills Cruella, and Cruella's gang gets everyone
Yeah,
to gather in front of the Baroness to bear witness to this attempted murder. Except Cruella survives and the Baroness is jailed. And surprisingly, Cruella ends up taking the Baroness's Dalmatians.
that is like weirdly interesting. Oh yeah, with the Dalmatians, I guess in an earlier scene, one of them might have actually presented themselves to Cruella's dog Buddy. Which when I saw that scene, it's like, wait, are they gonna do it?
I I don't
I
remember
will.
that at all.
No, I will have to show you that because that's what I thought it was gonna be. And
I
like
don't remember that at all.
the thing is that I do. That's the scene where she's like, "All right, I'll allow it."
I don't
If you,
I don't remember that. I think I remember that scene, but I don't remember that implication. But I mean I
I
believe that it
do.
could have happened. Yeah, I'm not saying you're lying. I just
Actually,
don't
oh yeah,
remember
you
it.
can carry on. I was gonna mention that, like, weirdly enough, with it being PG-13, that's part of why I also expected a darker tone. But it feels like it would have been PG outside of like
Yeah, it
usage
really
of
does feel
hell,
like
if
a
anything.
PG movie.
I gotta I gotta look up about like I don't remember much language stuff being used, if anything.
So, anyways, the ending, which I found very weird that Cruella ended up taking her parents, the tools you can say that killed her parents as pets.
One of her parents, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, her mom's killer as, kind of a.
Wait, should we have talked about the twist with the Baroness and like
Yeah, the
Cruella?
twist is at first we were okay, I guess we will talk about the twist. At first we were confused as to why the Baroness would kill Cruella's mother. We had to talk about it a bit to kind of piece things together. It was never explicitly said, which in a way I like about movies, but this one it was left really ambiguous to where we felt like we were fumbling in the dark. There weren't too many pieces to go off of. And so essentially by the end we pieced together that well the twist is that the Baroness is Cruella's birth mother, which creates a conflict I like in that Cruella, by standing up and being as good as she is to her birth mother, in some ways almost validates her because Cruella's birth mother almost takes it as validating her genes. And in a way it's almost tragedy where Cruella ends up becoming just like the person who killed her adoptive mother, whom she looked up to. And I like the conflict that Cruella both wants to prove she's better than the Baroness, but by doing so, she's almost validating her and her idea and the Baroness's idea that her genes, are what is giving Cruella the ability to.
Yeah.
And the reason what we came upon as to why the Baroness ended up killing Cruella's adoptive mother was we think Cruella's mother approached the Baroness because she knew about it, because adoptive mother had a pendant with a key to Cruella's birth certificate revealing that the Baroness was her mother. So Cruella's mother knew about it, probably approached the Baroness for help or assistance, and because the Baroness wanted Cruella killed, she didn't want anyone who could possibly upstage her. She wanted Cruella killed, but her assistant ended up giving Cruella to someone else. And I think upon realizing that Cruella was still alive because her adoptive mother is right in front of the Baroness decided to kill her and would probably have killed Cruella too if she found her, which I think she was
Yeah.
trying to by sending out the dogs as well. So that's what we came upon. We wish it could have been more clear, especially since it's a bit awkward to think that I think it makes sense that the assistant would assume that the Baroness doesn't want to kill her baby, but at the same time, the assumption that the Baroness wants the assistant to give the birth certificate linking the baby to the Baroness, which is pretty illegal to leave a baby at someone. That part doesn't really add up. It feels like just an excuse it feels like just a means to an end. We need the Baroness to kill Cruella's mother for this plot. But as for that part, it doesn't really feel like the butler would really interpret that with the demand.
Yeah.
But I guess now we will go to the end proper.
Yeah.
So by the end, Cruella ends up making the Baroness's mansion her home, which becomes Hell Hall, connected to the first original movie, even though it doesn't really feel like it's cohesive with it. And she ends up having her adoptive mother's killers, the Dalmatians, as pets, which feels very odd. It's part of why I
It
say
is a
Cruella
bit
is very
odd.
nice to the Dalmatians in this movie. Oddly so.
It makes me feel like if it's supposed to be like kind of a different characterization.
It really doesn't
that
feel like Cruella,
yeah.
which is one of my issues with the movie. By the end, I will talk about the mid-credit scene, I guess. Do you want to explain it?
Oh boy, I don't know who thought it was a good idea, but Disney certainly did it twice. It's the incest. That's what they did twice, or like that's what they implied. So like I think like the reason why I mentioned Buddy Bones, that one of the dogs, is because like there's puppies, and so like Cruella gave Anita a gift, and it was Perdita, but she gave Roger a Dalmatian puppy too, who was Pongo, and it makes me worried about the fact that like there's that
Yeah,
bad
because it
implication
seems
of
like
them being
they would be
related.
from her Dalmatians, which would make Pongo and Perdita related in this continuity.
Yeah.
This is speculation, but it felt like the studio demanded you need a stronger connection to the original movie to end on. So this was made up without proper thinking of the implications of it.
That's also what it feels like too. And it's like, no, guys, you probably should have looked deeper into this because, like, now it's one of the other talking points where, okay, less so than the Corella's mom's death, but, it's definitely something that I feel the film should actually be criticized for because this was an oversight,
Yeah, it's
like a
sloppily
huge
put
mistake.
together and it has very uncomfortable implications.
Yeah, what would have worked better is I feel cut the scene out with
At least just have one
Roger
of
and
them.
Pongo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just have it be Anita and Perdita because I could buy that maybe.
Throughout the movie, Anita is a journalist. Cruella enlists the help of Anita, who photographs and published in the newspaper Cruella's tirades against the Baroness, Cruella showing the Baroness up. And
Yeah,
so Anita is very helpful to Cruella. So it makes sense why Cruella would want to help Anita. But one issue I have also is that Anita never shows interest in having a Dalmatian, let alone a dog. So this feels really out of nowhere. But at least I can say, yeah, Cruella would want to help Anita out. As for Roger, I don't think
that one's like
Cruella barely
very
ever met
weird.
Roger. Cruella
It
barely met
feels
Roger, and Roger didn't express the one for a dog anyway. Roger didn't help Cruella in this movie, so one, Cruella would have no reason to repay Roger. Cruella would have no reason to repay Roger with the Dalmatian, and they barely met at all to where I don't think Cruella would even remember Roger by the end of this movie. So there's no reason for her to give him Pongo.
that is a very weird scene too. Part of what I'm thinking of is that I'm hoping at the very least if they ever make a sequel or something, okay, we shouldn't rely on other things to explain stuff because this is still a huge issue.
And
But
also not to
hopefully for
mention
the
another thing the mid-credit scene is Roger that makes me think they just wanted to tie it too much to the original movie is Roger is playing the piano like his character would, except we have no indication of his artistic abilities. I really don't think he would go to law school. Roger's character is screwed up. It doesn't seem like Roger. So he's playing the piano and he's playing the Cruella de Vil song, except there's no reason for him to play it. He barely met Cruella de Vil. And even if you think that it's, inspired by the newspapers and articles about Cruella, why would he feel the need to crap on Cruella with this song if she was going against the boss who fired him? That would make it seem like Roger would write a song to praise Cruella. So the song's existence doesn't make sense. He would barely know Cruella, and if he did, he would probably write a song praising her. So the reference to the song from the original movie has no basis of being in this universe. Roger has no motivation to write it.
it is a very weird reference. Yeah, it I don't know if it would fit here. But I guess what I was wanting to say is like either someone needs to come out and say they're from Pongo and Perdita are from two different litters, or like they do something, or like they mention something about that in if there's a sequel, because we don't know how well this movie's doing.
I don't know if the question is how Pongo got there, then the next question would be there's still many like things that don't make sense. Like why would Cruella give one to Rogers? He didn't help her, nothing. She probably doesn't even remember
Well,
him,
yeah,
and let alone know he would want a Dalmatian. There's no reason to give him any puppy, and no matter what, it's a flawed scene.
I guess I can understand that.
Well, there was something else about the end that I had to say. Maybe.
Was it
Oh,
how Cruella survived the parachute skirt
oh
or
no,
whatever it was?
no. This is one of my biggest issues with the movie. It feels like it's trying to be an origin story, but it feels like it doesn't know who it's trying to be an origin story to. And because of that, it feels very misguided because it doesn't work as a prequel. And in many ways, even if you take it in its own continuity, I don't think it works as its own origin story. And that's because I feel like the movie either forgets who Cruella is or is too afraid to follow who Cruella will become. which is the whole point of an origin story, the origin of who this person will become. And we do get little tidbits implying the Cruella we know and arguably love as an antagonist, of course, in one scene where she's looking at the kidnapped Dalmatians and says, they would make a good fur coat, huh? But she backtracks saying, oh, I'm kidding, which, can imply that she is thinking it, or you could just take it at face value and say she's kidding. And once again, trying to link it to the original movie with Horace or whoever, one of her pals asks, so what's next? And Cruella goes, I have a few ideas, which only implies the original movie because that's all we know comes after. In terms of the innate context of the story, nothing really seems to imply who she will become. The scene with her joking about taking the Dalmatians' fur can just be taken as that's her inspiration to wear a spotted coat in the next scene, in the following scene when she's at the big concert. I have a few ideas. The only reason we come to the conclusion that she thinks about skinning Dalmatians is just because that's all we know her for. In terms of innately this movie, nothing implies she would come to that idea, especially considering she holds no grudges. In a way, I like that the movie didn't go with the cliche, she holds grudges against Dalmatians because they killed her mother. I'm glad it wasn't that cliche. But at the same time, it doesn't build her up as if she would think to kill the Dalmatians, especially since she ends up keeping them as pets and is pretty lenient to them, especially considering those exact ones killed her mother. And I think it also leads to an issue where she has these Dalmatians. She can breed more Dalmatians for fur coats. She wouldn't have to kidnap Pongo and Perdita's puppies. She could just breed as many as she wants.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true, but I don't know if like the dogs or the parents would have taken lightly to like something like that happening to their puppies. So I mean, there could be that, but they do get what you mean, and I don't think it works as an origin story for the animated film or the live action one either.
I don't think it works for an origin story of anything because nothing in it indicates Cruella will want to skin, Dalmatians outside of just what we know happens in the future. If you take the most thing that innately points to that is when she says they would make a good fur coat, but nothing about the character shows her as deranged to go to that point. She doesn't obsess over the texture or even give much thought to it, and it's just said as a throwaway line, and even then she backtracks on it, saying it's a joke. Which, yeah, I know it's meant to imply she's really considering it, but the movie doesn't go that far into it for us to think that Cruella will grow up to end up doing that.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I think that's one thing. I don't know if it was mentioned, but I know she definitely had a fur coat sort of obsession. I want to say in like the original film and also
she did.
The live action.
However, she does not in here.
Yeah, which again makes me feel this is like a different character, and that can like make or break it for some people.
I think that is what will break it because okay, even if you accept that it's not a prequel, even if you accept it's just an origin story about this character, Cruella. Well, who is Cruella? Well, she's a character who is honestly deranged, obsessed, and wants to skin puppies. Who do we get by the end of this? Someone who's not really so deranged. Her plans of revenge may be extreme, but she doesn't seem like she would want to skin puppies by the end of it. It doesn't hint at who she will become. So one of the big things that is Cruella's character, her main motivation, is absent in this movie outside of one throwaway piece of dialogue, and one dialogue that doesn't even innately imply that she will do that outside of just our own knowledge that paints it as such.
I get that, yeah.
And for me, that's my biggest issue with Cruella. Is it about Cruella? It feels like the film is too afraid to be about Cruella, who is a character who we know will go on to be deranged and skin puppies for fashion. It's too afraid to build her up as a will-be villain who will want to skin puppies, so it doesn't build up Cruella it doesn't build up who she will become. It doesn't focus on how she will want to skin puppies in the future, let alone her deranged obsession so much with fashion. If anything, it was more so an obsession and derangement on revenge here. So because of that, I feel the film is hardly about Cruella because one of the big characteristics of Cruella is absent in this movie. So as a prequel, it fails because there's too many discrepancies to lead into the original movie. And even if we accept it as its own movie and own original origin story, it doesn't feel like we end up with the character who we know. It feels like it's a different character.
I mean, yeah, that's like, honestly, that is understandable. It is a very, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't connect with the two theatrical movie, well, like the two theatrical movies that are based on like the original novel, and it's doing its,
One thing,
and it,
it's a bit late, but I do want to say one thing that I did like about the film, kind of, that almost works as a prequel. One thing I liked about the film was how Cruella enlisted the help of Anita, and that Anita ended up seeing how horrible her boss was, and that Anita ended up saw Cruella being bullied in school, and Anita helps Cruella throughout this movie. It almost helps the original movie if you take this continuity as true because it gives Anita more reason to defend Cruella in the original. Otherwise, Anita just looks stupid and absurd why she would defend this girl. This one aspect of the movie actually makes an aspect of the original makes sense, which I feel is good for a prequel, but as we've said, it ends up not being a prequel because there's too many discrepancies. So I can't say this section functions well as a prequel because it's not a prequel. I wish this could have been used in a more cohesive movie for that would be a prequel, but it's not.
yeah, that's fair. I guess for me, I don't hold too many grudges with the film. I had fun with it, if anything.
Yeah, and that's okay. I will admit there were moments where I had fun, but at the end of the day, I couldn't like it as a prequel, and as I said, in its own right as an origin story, we don't end with who Cruella will become. It's unidentifiable with the original Cruella as her main motivation is absent. So as in its own namesake and being as an origin story, I feel is invalidated because of that. It's too afraid to really sell itself to who Cruella is, so it ends up being a disingenuous tale of who this narrative wants Cruella to be rather than being a true origin story and giving fans of Cruella or 101 what we want to see of the character.
I think I can understand that. I'm not sure what final thoughts to give. I honestly, even though you had issues with some of that, I liked this Cruella a lot. I prefer her as more of a villain, but for something like this, I honestly didn't mind it too much. And I liked her personality
Yeah,
with
I
with
like her.
the other characters.
I
I
do
liked
like
her
her
more
personality,
when
and I do like when she is mean and owns the place because that does feel like Cruella. But by the end, for me, it doesn't feel like we're an origin of a villain.
that's fair. I'm more like positive ish because I do agree with some of your points. Yet some of the stuff I just didn't have too much of a problem with, like some of the prequel stuff, or like not the prequel, the origin stuff, or some of the changes they made. And I do like the film's general tone and feel to it, even if the licensed songs are a bit overbearing at times.
You can say when you want to call it. I've said my piece as well, and I
I'm not sure
understand
what
why you
else.
liked it.
I'm not sure what else to say. So yeah, we can just end it here if you want.
So that's it. That's our thoughts on Cruella, and whether it be I thought bad or Lou thought good, it's not worth $30. We both agree on.
It
So
really.
we'll end on
I
that
feel
common ground.
the premium access is just way too much,
Yeah.
and a lot
So
of people agree.
yeah. So that was our thoughts on Cruella. I guess we'll call it here. So see you. Thank you for watching.
See you next time when we cover something else. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
Later's
Later.
Borks.
Bye bye.